Hello everyone and welcome back to another one of my videos. So in today's video, I'll be shining a spotlight on my most recent watch acquisition, which is the Bear & Ross BR05. Now this is essentially a series where I shine a spotlight at some of my own personal purchases. I've previously done such videos on the Kurono, Toki, the IWC, Mark 18, the Petit Prince, my tech Heuer Monaco, and most recently, my Tissot PRX 80. So today I'll be showing you my first purchase of the new year, the Bear & Ross BR05. So I have this here, I bought it here in sort of like a blue dial. I had a chance to review the new BR05 GMT a while back, and I liked it much more than I expected. It's a written review, it's over on the website. I wrote that I really like the integrated sports watch feel, as well as the superbly finished bracelet. I think it's the best case and bracelet finishing for its price point, and I really appreciate the comfort in everyday wear. However, I found the matte black dial, to be a tad conservative for my taste, and I also had no need for like a GMT function, right? Given the current Omnicron strain, I don't think I'll be traveling anytime soon. And as I was browsing through, the rest of the BR05 lineup, I found myself gravitating towards the sort of time-only variant. So given, sort of the brand's heritage as a maker of aviation instrument watches, the instant legibility, let me bring this closer to the camera. So the instant legibility of the standard BR05 models really appealed to me, and out of the multiple colorways available, I believe there's a black, I believe there's a silver, I think there's a new sort of Horoloom variant as well. I was most drawn towards this sunburst blue dial, and as I didn't do like a video review of the previous BR05 GMT, I decided to do one of this new purchase. So in the matter, I would say that the BR05 looks even better than it does in the press photos. So blue watches are a dime a dozen nowadays. I own multiple, including the aforementioned IWC, the Petit Prince, and the Tissot PRX that we just reviewed. However, there's like a royal stature towards this blue dial. There's like a JDC quad to this shade of blue that really separates it, I would say, from the blue watches that I've owned. It just looks richer and warmer, and it has like a lovely elegance, I would say, that reminds me of dress watches, right? Which provides an interesting juxtaposition to its robust sports watch nature. I also love like the clean and sleek aesthetic of the dial, so you can see that it's instantly legible, which of course harkens back to the earlier Bear & Ross iconic models like the BR01, the BR03, etc. Yeah, I also love how the date wheel here is rendered in blue as well, so it blends seamlessly to the dial. So you can see it's rendered in blue, it blends seamlessly to the dial. It's just a very clean and very sleek looking dial. Yeah. Now, of course, the time-only BR05 shares the same bracelet as its GMT counterpart. So let me show you guys the bracelet. So you can see, look at that, how well the bracelet is finished. The polished center links contrast nicely against like the satin brush bracelet, resulting in a watch that really just gleams on the wrist. And look at that, it catches the light beautifully. Look at that, simply beautiful, right? So it even has like a slight, you can see that it even has like a slight taper for a more slimline look on your watch. Admittedly, I would say that the bracelet is a bit Nautilus inspired, but it's executed to such a high degree that I think it does justice to its hot horology inspiration. Now, unfortunately, the main weakness of the BR05 GMT remains the same here in the BR05. So you can see it through the case back. The movement is rather, average. I would say a workhorse rather, Seletar SW300. It's clear that, Bear & Ross has done some modification to the movement. You can see it's not equipped with a scrutinized wheel rotor. But in terms of the specifications, it remains the same as the standard Seletar SW300 caliber. That means a rather short power reserve of 40 hours. It's definitely an area that makes, I think, the BR05 less competitive than, perhaps on the other watches at price point, or even against something like the Tissot PRX, which has 80 hours of power reserve and like a silicon balance spring. So for context, Tudor, again, in the same price point, for context, Tudor is offering like an in-house chronometer certified movement with 70 hours of power reserve in its Black Bay watches, and those cost less than BR05 at both retail and on the resale market. So at the very least, I would have liked them to make this movement, the caliber 321, at least make it chronometer certified. I think that's something that even, let's say, entry-level models from some of the brands like Breitling, have. That being said, having an off-the-shelf movement does sort of, I guess, reduce your servicing costs as compared to an in-house movement, so it will be much more affordable in the long run, I guess. as compared to its sort of counterparts as an in-house movement. Now on the wrist, the time-only BO5 has a case diameter of just 40mm, making it substantially smaller than the brand's BO1, BO3 icons. In fact, I believe it's probably the smallest men's square watch in Bell & Ross's current catalogue. On my 7-inch wrist, the 40mm case wears incredibly well. Due to its square nature, it actually possesses quite a lot of wrist presence, so it's still quintessentially Bell & Ross. However, due to the integrated nature, which means that there's no lugs, right? She wears smaller than my Tag Heuer Monaco, despite being 1mm larger on paper. With a thickness of just 10.4 mm, it's also pretty slim for like a square watch. I have no issues wearing this under like a shirt cuff, and it should pairs rather well, in my opinion, with formal wear. Like I paired it with a suit, and I got a lot of compliments on it. It's a watch I think that shredders dress and sports eminently well. So overall, I believe that when the BO5, this particular model, was first released in 2019, it garnered much controversy, right? Many slammed it as being like a mere homage to the Nautilus or Royal Oak. A few years on, it seems that the tide has turned, with enthusiasts now appreciating the BO5 for its own merits. And although the watch has now turned into a full lineup, so as the time of this review, there's 29 different BO5 models. This time only BO5 with like its striking blue dial, still shines, in my opinion, the brightest. And at least for me, for a fairly affordable sports watch, the BO5 provides everything that you need and nothing that you don't. I really like how the Bell & Ross BO5 was able to retain some of the brand's trademark elements, right, like the screws on the bezel, the legible dial, etc. Yet updated in a contemporary package that's perfect for the urban lifestyle. In terms of fit and finish, as you can see, it's a watch that really punches above its price point, I would say. It's currently one of the watches I wear most often, and I think it's because it's a great grab and go watch. But, that being said, again, if I'm being honest, I'm still deciding whether or not to keep the watch. And it technically occupies the same role, which is like the blue dial integrated sports watch, as my Tissot PRX Powermatic 80. So it was an impulse purchase of like something to start anew off your bank. But I do realize that, like I said, it really does, occupy the same role as my Tissot PRX, so I'm still thinking whether or not to let it go. That being said, if you don't really have, like, a blue dial integrated sports watch, then I definitely recommend visiting your Bell & Ross AD or boutique to try the BL5 on. It really dazzles in the matter, it really does, shines brightly when you have it on your wrist. And alright, that rounds up my this video coverage of my new purchase, the Bell & Ross BL5. If you like the review, do subscribe to the channel, to ring the notification bell, to leave a comment, and do share the video around, all the good stuff. As always, I'll see you guys in my next video. Ciao!